What's going on, fight fans? Thank you for tuning in to the Franchise Sports Media's The Main Event Podcast. I'm your host, Kalani, with my co-host, Griffin Kemp. Griff, my man, we are back for another show, and man, oh man, did we have ourselves a spectacular event this past weekend. UFC delivered from Singapore another terrific fight. 2 title fights on the card, and new, and still. What were your thoughts of UFC 276?
I think it was a card
275. There we go. What were your thoughts?
I think it was a card that was really underrated. People coming in, I didn't hear as much buzz about it as I have in past cards, but I think it delivered one of the greatest fights at the 205-pound weight division. It delivered a fight with Valentina Shevchenko that actually went the distance and was a very, very close fight. And of course, we saw Joanna Jędrzejczyk put the gloves down on the tarp and retired. It was a fantastic card. I enjoyed every moment of it, and I think that down the line it's going to be considered one of the best cards of the year.
Oftentimes, like you said, there's not a lot of hype behind it. Oftentimes, Dana White would say, hey, if you don't like the fights, don't tune in. This is one, like you said, when it was announced, you kind of felt like, if it wasn't for Glover Teixeira and Valentina being champions, this was going to be a fight night card.
Right.
It just didn't seem to get that energy going. I don't know what was in the water, what was in the air over there, but good God almighty, it was an entertaining night of fights. The main event, Glover Teixeira, the ageless wonder, defending his title against, how do you say it again, Griff?
Jiri Procházka.
There you go, Jiri Procházka. And like we said, okay, is this going to be the wise veteran just taking out the young buck, or is the young buck just going to run through the wise veteran? This was a back and forth melee brawl. It was a barn burner. These guys went at it, takedown, strikes, flying knees. We had it all. How you say it again?
Jiri Procházka.
There you go.
The champ
comes out as the champion with a 5th round submission. The first 41 fights, the first time Glover Teixeira has been submitted in his career. What did you make of the main event and just how it all unfolded? And now we have a new champion.
Oh man! So again, this is a title fight, which title fights big in this company, but yet again, not getting that kind of buzz that you would expect. It was a banger of a fight. Oh my goodness! Everyone who we were watching it with was up out of their seats, hyped every single time, because it seemed like Glover was going to go the distance. Glover was going to he just got the belt this late in his career, and he's about to get his first title defense. And Jiri Procházka, we were all saying he was fighting like a madman. There was no type of defense for himself. It was basically like he was saying he was daring Glover to knock him out.
It was a Rocky movie.
It was exactly
no
that.
Defense.
No defense whatsoever. None at all. And the whole time, it seemed like Jiri had the advantage on the feet. He was getting into Glover. He was getting those strikes. Glover was getting wobbled. But when they would go to the ground, that's where Glover was dominating him, hitting him with the elbows, getting him with all these submission attempts. And then just for the last 30 seconds of the very last round, for Jiri to be the one to actually submit Glover. No one saw it coming. You couldn't have sold this script to Hollywood, because they would say it's too unbelievable. It was amazing to watch. I personally was kind of hoping to see Glover defend the belt, but now we have Jiri Procházka, the new 205-pound champ. We'll see how long his reign goes. I mean, when you become a champion, you just never know. You're always going to get the best. Glover did have a couple stand-up moments where he was landing the overhand right, and almost looked like he put Jiri Procházka away. But then he elected to go for the grappling. He elected to go down and grab him below and try to take him down, get him to the mat, and say, hey, let me try to submit you. And we're all sitting there saying, what are you doing? But then, like you said, when they were standing up, Jiri definitely had the advantage. I know a lot of people don't like the fact that he fights with his hands down. That's his style, though. It's inviting the opponent to come in so he could counter. He tried a couple flying knees. They weren't as successful. He did land one, not fully, but man, oh man, especially on the ground. There were times where Glover, when he would try to turn it on with the ground and pound, you felt like, okay, the referee's about to step in at any point in time here. But then Jiri, to his credit, will find a way to either get up, get out of it, try to reverse a roll. What was interesting, both fighters showed when either one was on top, they were the dominant fighter. The other struggled, because even at times where Jiri was on top and Glover was on the bottom, he struggled at times. It looked like he might get finished on the ground. Tremendous showing from both fighters. This is one of those where you say, yes, Glover did lose his title, but nobody lost. Nope. Nobody lost. Nobody lost for sure. And I think especially a big winner of that after that fight was the 205-pound weight division, with John Jones being a champion for over 9 years, and then finally deciding to leave and go up to heavyweight. Now you've seen 3 champions since he has left. And what that does now is it's created 3 big star names for that division, where beforehand it was nobody knew anyone besides the name John Jones in that weight division. And including, you can even include Dominic Reyes, who hasn't been a champion yet, but since that bout that he had with John Jones has made a name for himself as well.
Yeah, by getting knocked out by Jiri Procházka with that spinning back fist. Boy.
Yucky. Good Lord.
205 is an interesting division. You do have the possibility of some middleweights moving up. Possibly a Paulo Costa, since it seems making 105 can be a little difficult at times for him. We'll see what happens with him and Luke Rockhold later on this year. That is going to be an interesting match in itself. We'll dive into that more. As you brought up, Griff, the co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko taking on Santos in a fight that many people just felt, okay, how long until the champion decides this is over? No, my brother. Santos came in and said, oh, you guys must have forgot. I'm 19-1 for a reason with 10 finishes.
Right.
And she put on a terrific showing, gave the champion everything she had. What was interesting, it seemed like when they were standing up, because Valentina is a counter striker, I wouldn't say stale, but there was almost times where it was like, okay, who's going to make the first move? Who's going to make the first mistake? But then when Santos would get it to the ground, we've seen Valentina be very dominant on the ground. She showed some holes in her game. She showed some vulnerability there. Santos had moments where you're like, oh, wait a minute. She's about to get the rear naked choke. She's got the back. Shevchenko, champion mentality, champion heart showed in the last 2 rounds. This is why I have the title for this long and was able to pull out the decision victory. Uberly impressive from both ladies, and it goes to show you, no matter how dominant you are, it just takes one night. You're not on your game, and somebody might pull off the upset. Santos was unsuccessful, but Valentina came this close as she's ever been to losing that title.
She did. I was one of those people who was saying before the fight, I was saying, man, I'm glad that this fight's probably going to only take about a round because I want to see the Glover and Jiri fight. But then when she comes in, it seemed like she changed her game plan halfway through. It seemed like you said, she was waiting for Santos to come in so she could counter strike. And maybe she was counting on Santos, this being her first title shot, being a little too anxious, a little too heavy, going in, making a mistake. But that game plan kind of hurt Shevchenko. It got to the point where Santos would get into her and would get her to the ground, and she just looked like the bigger fighter. She just looked bigger than Shevchenko, and then she was able to get her to the ground, hurt her, and obviously the ground game is where Santos, that's her specialty. So then I like that halfway through, Valentina seemed to change it up and be more aggressive, going at her. That seemed to help her a lot. She had a few takedown attempts as well that added to the points that ultimately got her the victory in the decision. So I loved it. You know, you love to see fights that go the distance, that are a surprise, that are a shocker. So that's 2 fights right there that were shockers.
And sometimes fights that go the distance, you're like, oh, just come on already. But this was an action-packed fight. Every round was tooth and nail. It was very well contested. Again, it's one of those where on paper, this is not going to be entertaining. This is not going to be a challenge. This is not going to be difficult. It was. It was. And this is why they say, this is why we play the game. This is why we fight, because you just never know. Speaking of never know, don't know if you heard any rumors coming in, but as you brought up, Joanna Jędrzejczyk in a losing effort to Wayne Zaylee. Wayne Zaylee, uber impressive. Gets the spinning back fist knockout of Joanna. Joanna afterwards gives an emotional post-fight interview, puts her gloves on the mat, symbolizing this is it for her. She's had a hell of a run. One of the greatest UFC women champions of all time. Greatest champions of all time. I'm not going to put the women part of it. She's one of the greatest champions of all time. 5 title defenses, main events, co-main events, you name it, she did it. Great personality. Won Wayne Zaylee, possibly next in line for the title shot with this impressive victory. But Joanna's career, I just want to say thank you for all that you did for the sport. Thank you for what you did for women's mixed martial arts. Thank you for what you did for mixed martial arts. Thank you for what you did for Poland. Uber entertaining. I got to meet her on the rooftop at the Rio one time. Try to talk to her a little bit. She kind of gave me the little, hey buddy, back up real quick. I said, okay, my bad.
You don't want to mess with that.
No, not at all.
No problem.
Not at all. But Great personality. She's one of those personalities in the UFC that you just say, every time she hits a camera on the stage, she lights up. I remember when the Reebok deal happened with the UFC, even the Reebok representative was just like, oh my gosh, look at this. I love your energy. You're beautiful, etc., etc. Thank you, Joanna, for all that you gave us and what you gave to the sport, and best of luck to future endeavors.
Absolutely. You want a young Jacek going to go down. She's going to be a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that. One of the bigger names, not like you said, not in just the female division, but in all of the UFC. I think it was an honor for us to be able to watch her last fight, be able to see her go out, and this wasn't just a bout for her. She didn't go out like a lot of champions do, where they're already a little past their prime and they're just fighting fights with no implications on it. This was for a title shot.
Very much so.
We can't get that confused. And she lost to Zhang Wei Li, who she just had the belt. She just had the belt. She's coming in. She obviously she looked like the more polished fighter. She looked like she's definitely more in her prime than Joanna is. But I think that Joanna went out there every fight. She gave her all. She loved this sport. She loved the company. So, yeah, I would also like to say just thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to watch, and good luck in everything.
She is one of the greats. She's one of the greatest fighters, women fighters of all time. And I say that to lead into this. Who would you say is on the Mount Rushmore of women's mixed martial arts? I'll start because it'll lead into my next topic. I'm going to start with Gina Carano.
Okay.
Started off women's mixed martial arts. She was the face that brought it popularity with Elite XC and Strikeforce. She's the one that kind of got it on the mainstream level. Next, you got to go with Ronda Rousey.
I have to.
Took it to the next level. Gina was Magic and Larry Bird. Ronda was Michael Jordan. She she set the stage here. Ronda took it and just exploded it.
Yep.
Next, I'm going to go with Chris Cyborg.
Of course. Okay.
You go over 10 years undefeated, the most feared woman fighter of all time. Knockout. She's won a title in every promotion she's ever fought in. You got to go with Chris Cyborg. Then I'm going to go with Amanda Nunes. Hi, Amanda. I'm going to go with her. The champ knocked out both Ronda Rousey and Chris Cyborg. One of the most dominant figures. Yes, she just lost to Juliana Pena. It happens. It happens. The reason I ask you about the Mount Rushmore, did you see the news on who Ronda Rousey said is one fighter she will come back and face?
I did. It was a little bit surprising to me. Ronda Rousey seemed like, especially with how she was, who, let's call it what it is, he was a female Conor McGregor in this company. She brought so much attention, so much light, so many eyes to the screen. Had to get him in. You'll be surprised. I'll find my ways.
Of course.
She brought so much attention, and she had a champion mentality. She was a champion. I would assume that she would come back and maybe be hungry, or maybe bigger, a little bit more closer to a belt, maybe closer, maybe, I don't know. We don't know if she's wanting to come back fully and have another run at a whole career in the UFC. And I mean, she's a WWE star now, and what do WWE, what do they do best? They do it for the attention, they do it for the eyes. No disrespect to the sport. It is a sport, I will give it that.
That's right.
But I mean, it'd be interesting. I wouldn't hate it. I would not hate it at all to see Ronda Rousey enter the cage one more time.
Two of the biggest names in the sport. The two names that propelled women's martial arts to the stage that it's on now. To where when it's a main event, when it headlines a card, when it's a co-main event a card, they're like, hey, we got it. When you have on The Ultimate Fighter, the women's division's on there as well. Female coaches on there as well. It's because of these two ladies. It would be an awesome fight to see. I don't know if Gina would considering her Hollywood career. She has a new movie coming out. She's been in shows. Obviously, we'll see if she comes back to certain shows. But she obviously is a full-time actress now. Ronda being a WWE superstar. We'll see how that all goes. But I would love it if they somehow figured out a way. Doesn't have to necessarily be at 135. Could be a little bit higher or whatever. But it would be awesome to see two of the greatest come back for one final bout. Now, Gina is a little bit older, not tremendously, but a little bit older than Ronda. So I don't know if she's like, look, my physicality for getting ready for an actual fight, not there anymore. That time has passed. Or with the fight against Ronda Rousey, the big name, the big draw that it would be, would that be enough to say, you know what? Maybe I would give it one more go. Find a camp, do some training, and come back for one final bout. For Rousey, I don't see her coming back wanting a full career just because I do think the sport in some ways has passed her.
Yeah.
And considering her last couple of outings, I don't think she wants that smoke from who's at the top right now.
No, she doesn't.
No, not at all. But I definitely would be intrigued and would love to see Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano fight one day. Two of the GOATs of all time. They're on the Mount Rushmore of women's mixed martial arts. It would be a tremendous showing. It would be something awesome. And considering it would be with the UFC, it'll give Gina Carano that final nail, that final accolade to say, I fought in the UFC. Because remember, she didn't fight in the UFC. Ronda was the one who came over for the UFC. Gina was already out of it at that time. So maybe for Gina, this could be her chance to finally say, I fought in the UFC. It'll be awesome. Griff, it's been a great show, as always. We will be back next week. We got International Fight Week coming up, and we got some great content coming forward from that. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Franchise Sports Media's The Main Event Podcast. I'm Kalani Lua. This is Griff Kemp. Go to franchisesportsmedia.com for all the latest in Las Vegas sports and more content from the main event. Till next time, fight fans, be easy.
Best in the West.
Boom.